Clients are always asking me how to take better photos with their smartphones. In today's digital age, not everyone has a pro camera or is a photographer, but we all have phones with cameras in our pockets. Let's face it, most people love taking photos, either to keep for themselves or to brag about something on social media. Today I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks that will make you look like a pro when taking photos with your cell phone. The first thing I'd advise anybody is to clean your lens. This may sound simple or pretty straightforward, but it's the one thing everybody forgets. Our phones sit in our pockets or lie on desks or counter surfaces. They pick up dust or even fingerprints, and then when you take what you think is going to be an awesome pic, it looks hazy or unfocused. The easiest thing to do is to just simply take the edge of your shirt and give your camera lens a wipe to avoid those fuzzy photos. I promise you, it won't scratch your lens. If you look at the sample, you can see how the lights and the image actually looks like a poor quality image as opposed to the one with the clean lens where everything is sharp and vibrant. Number 2, manually set the focus. Just like a real camera, a phone camera is a sophisticated piece of technology. Typically, when you point your phone camera at something, the phone will take an educated guess at what you want to photograph. If it recognizes faces, that's what it will pick. To manually change focus from one subject to another, simply tap on the phone screen and choose your focus. Have a look at how I'm doing it here in the sample. See, as I touch, it changes focus to the front or the back. Number 3, don't use the flash. There's no such thing as the phone's onboard flash. It's just a basic tiny LED that blares out in only one direction and offers almost no recourse for illumination strength. If you're using natural light or daylight, there's actually no reason to use flash at all. If it's dark at night time, the LED light will basically only light something up if it's less than 10 feet. At night time, it's probably better to just use the night mode on your camera or the HDR setting. Mirrors will naturally bounce any light back to the camera lens when facing it straight up, which is the main reason why it's never a good idea to use it in the frame. The same goes for windows. If you've ever taken a photo in front of a window or too close to a window, you might notice the glare coming back at you because you were actually too close to it. Shiny surfaces often create a weird halo effect or glare if the flash hits them at certain angles. Number 4, manually set the exposure. Just like in the focus, you can actually set the exposure yourself. Exposure is the brightness or darkness of a photo. If you tap on the screen when you're in photo mode, you will see a sunlight come up. You can use your finger to drag up or down to adjust the light. Also, if you tap on the spot that you want to focus on your phone, it will automatically adjust the exposure to that area. This really helps when you have a lot of bright areas and dark areas combined in your photos. Often that happens if you're shooting your subject in front of a window. Have a look at the sample that I've just shown here. See, if I tap on the child's face and her shirt and the window, the exposure changes according to that. Compose your photos creatively. This simply means avoid placing your subject in the center of the image all the time. There are many different creative composition rules, but the most famous of them all is called Rule of Thirds. To help with this, turn the grid system on your phone. It should be in your settings. If you have a look at these images, what Rule of Thirds typically is that you never, as I said, you never place your image directly in the middle. You can see here everything is off center. Even if you're taking a photo, a close-up of someone's face, see in this image the girl's eyes in the top third of this image. Okay, moving on to number 6, change your angles. Instead of just always standing up at a normal height to photograph something, change your angles. Get lower and come down to the level of your subject, especially for children and animals. You know, a lot of people take photos of children and then they stand at the top of the child with the child looking up at them, and the poor child ends up with these tiny little feet and this tiny body and a big face. And the same applies to an animal. If you just go down on your knees, take a dead-on photo, you're going to get a much better looking photo. Number 7, straighten the horizon. One of the most aggravating things in a beautiful image is a crooked horizon. It throws a whole image out of whack. So take a moment and straighten any horizon lines in the frame. This can be done by selecting the grid function on your phone and making sure that the horizontal lines are in line with the grid lines. Use leading lines. Leading lines are a great way to lead the viewer into the frame and draw in attention to the subject matter. Roads, buildings, or even furniture placed creatively can act as leading lines to draw the viewer into the image, almost inviting them to stay a while and rest their eyes. Photography in natural light. Natural light is simply outdoor light. No matter what time of the day, natural light will actually just have a very distinct quality and be probably your best option to shoot in. Different times of the day also provide different color lighting. Late afternoon or early morning will provide warm yellow tints. In the middle of the day, it's quite bright and white. Clouds are the best as they create a soft effect with no harsh shadows. Avoid placing subjects in direct sunlight as they will be squinting into the sun. Mobile phones also don't photograph well in the sun if there is competing shadows. If you have a group, you should place everybody in the group in the shade so that you don't have half shade, half sun. If everybody's in the sun, turn them around so that their faces are all in the shade and then take your photo. And lastly, do not zoom. The digital zoom of a phone is not very powerful, no matter what phone companies will have you believe. Rather move closer to a subject to get a different angle. When you use a digital zoom, a lot of noise and distortion is introduced in the frame. If possible, try to move your feet to get closer to the subject as opposed to using the digital zoom, or change your angle. You'll end up with a much nicer looking photo. Thanks guys, thanks for listening to my tips and tricks. Please, if you like this video, like and subscribe below so that you can continue following us.